Hello all. This is your English teacher Mrs. Shanthi of KV Ashoknagar. Today we are going to read a new story from class 10 English reader Footprints Without Feet. The title of the story is The Necklace, written by Guy de Maupassant. Guy de Maupassant was a great writer of France. He is considered to be one of the best story writers of the world. He was born on 5th August 1850 in France. Maupassant was a representative of the naturalist school of writers. He depicts human lives often in pessimistic terms. Many of his stories were written during the Franco-Prussian Wars of the 1870s. He describes the futility of wars and violence that took thousands of innocent lives. He wrote more than 300 short stories, 6 novels, travel books, and even poetry. Before we read the main points of the story, let me ask you a few questions, and the discussion will help you to understand the story better. Have you ever wished your life was different? Have you borrowed something from your friends and found it missing before you could return? How did you manage the situation? Have you ever desired more than your means? The short story The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant takes place in France several hundred years ago. Mathilde Loisel lives in a flat with her husband who works as a clerk for the Ministry of Education. Their lives are not luxurious, but they are not poor, merely simple. However, longs to be rich. Let us see what happens. The characters in the story are Mathilde Loisel, Mr. Loisel, her husband, and Madame Forestier. I hope you would have read the detailed story from the textbook. Having read, let us proceed to the main points of the story. Mathilde was a beautiful young lady who was born in a family of clerks by some error of fate. She felt that she was born for all delicacies and luxuries of the world. She had a rich friend, Madame Forestier, but did not like to visit her because she suffered so much in her ordinary existence. Mathilde liked good food served in marvelous dishes, good frocks and jewels. One day her husband gave a printed card which was an invitation to a ball party. Instead of being happy, she threw away the card on the table. She thought that she didn't have a proper dress for the ball and didn't want to present her poverty-stricken image amid rich ladies. Mr. Loisel had to sacrifice his 400 francs for the dress, which he had saved to buy a gun for hunting. The day of the ball near, but Mathilde put forward another demand and wanted to wear a necklace for the ball. Mr. Loisel suggested that she could borrow jewels from her rich friend Madame Forestier. Mrs. Forestier placed a box of jewels before Mathilde to choose, and she chose a superb diamond necklace. On the day of the ball, Mrs. Loisel was a great success and looked very beautiful, elegant, and graceful. She attracted the attention of many men who wanted to be introduced to her. Returning from the party, she wanted to have a final view of herself in the mirror. Suddenly, she uttered a cry as if the necklace was not around her neck. Mr. Loisel went out in the night in search of the lost necklace. He went to the police, cab offices, and put an advertisement in the papers. At the end of the week, they lost all hopes, and it was decided to buy a new necklace similar to the lost one. The similar diamond necklace that could replace the lost one valued 36,000 francs. Mr. Loisel had 18,000 francs, but had to borrow the rest of the money. The new diamond necklace, which was exactly the same as the old one, was given to Madame Forestier. They had to work hard and lead a miserable life to pay off the debts. They sent away the maid and rented some rooms in the attic. Mrs. Loisel washed dishes, clothes, and lived like an ordinary woman. Mr. Loisel worked with some merchant in the evenings and did copying work for 5 sous a page. It took 10 years to pay off the debts completely, and the necklace had completely changed their lives. On the day when Madame Forestier met Mrs. Loisel, She couldn't recognize her because she had changed so badly. Mrs. Loisel told the whole story and also the fact that her necklace was responsible for their miserable condition. Madame Forestier was touched and said, "Oh, my poor Mathilde, mine were false. They weren't worth over 500 francs." Let us now move on to the theme of the story. The necklace is a mild satire but with a strong message. It is ridiculous for people of ordinary means to copy the rich. One should live within one's means. Otherwise, he or she fights unnecessary problems, anxieties, and confusion in his or her life. The main message of the story is that we should be what we are. False pride is the cause of our sufferings. The loss of a false necklace by Mrs. Loisel was not a big loss. Things could have been settled right if she had confessed the loss of the necklace to the owner, Madame Forestier. This small lapse or mistake of Mrs. Loisel makes her whole life miserable and dark. And the irony was that the cause of all these sufferings was a false necklace. Moving on to the title appropriateness. The most significant symbol in the story is the necklace itself, which is no surprise given to the story's title. The necklace represents everything that Mathilde wants and does not have, all the material possessions of a finer life. The necklace used to represent wealth in a slightly different way. After Mathilde and her husband go into debt and poverty, the necklace symbolizes the wealth that Mathilde can never hope to have. The values that we learn from the story are: be happy with whatever you have, contented and satisfied with whatever possession he or she has. Always be true to yourself. Never try to imitate or copy others. One should not be greedy. Aspirations towards materialistic things will only try to bring downfall. A person should not be so proud as to pretend to be someone in a higher station in life than or she or he really is. A few useful quotes for solving the value-based questions have also been compiled for your quick reference, followed by a few short questions and long questions. And you may also refer to the Diksha app for an elaborate NCERT question and answers.